video is going to focus on building the will. So when we have children, we use, in the Waldorf method, when we're schooling, whether it be home or, in the schools, they are painting and they're knitting and they're doing a lot of things. In the public school system, they are often working with motivation rather than inspiration, but still, it's still working on the will in that way. When we're adults, like the first thing we have to realize is that we need to build the will, right? I mean, like, there before you and I met. There were like other cues that there were things you had to do because you were a successful person when we met. You had 2 degrees. You had worked. So much scared. So you had to do some will building, right? Yeah. It wasn't like, because even though you are a gamer and you love to game, you at some point you were like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do this all day, right? I mean, yeah. So what things helped you for your temperament? So Erik is phlegmatic.
Well, because I think with phlegmatics and the desire to be comfortable, sometimes you have to be uncomfortable a little bit to avoid being uncomfortable a whole lot.
Right. It's like seeing the bigger picture, the long term, short-term sacrifice, long-term gain.
And if you're unbalanced, you are just thinking about right this minute, and then you end up causing like problem after problem, and nothing's getting done, and you're just sitting around all day, and people are like, go get a job.
Right. So it's more of if you're phlegmatic and you're struggling with this, I guess in a man it could, or in women, I can actually think of some phlegmatic women that have had issues with just sitting in front of the computer or gaming issues, or so it could come up as that. If you're a parent and you're the mom or you're staying at home, or the dad that's staying home, I think it's easy to not want to get off the couch. And we've talked about sort of what happens, like how you deal with change and anger differently. And it's all about like will. It's all about like the will, because if you've got kids that are out of control and you're a phlegmatic parent, it's often because you're waiting too long to act. And so that's about will control. It's about like being willing to act when it's starting, not act when you're in the middle of it. So, so what can you think of any like things that you knew you didn't want to stay where you were? So
yeah,
you knew you had to like do some things to get out of where you were. I think like I said, I think the biggest thing is like realizing, hey, I need to develop something here. I need to develop this will. I need to develop that I want to do something more. So they start with like really simple things. Start with simple tasks. I'm constantly amazed and saddened about people that tell me, oh, my partner can't even do, I just asked for this one thing and they can't do this one thing. Or they can't follow through with this one thing.
And then resentment builds.
It does. Resentment totally builds. And so
they don't think they're ever going to do anything ever. And then how did I get in this spot?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the third video. But yes, that's what it's totally, the seeds are here. The seeds are in the will. So let's just go through it. I guess with the phlegmatic, I would start with one thing. One thing, yes, I'm going to get up at X time every day. And then you force yourself, because guess what? You're a grown-up. You know, you got to get up. You just got to do it. You can't go, oh, well, I just didn't do it. You have to, if you want it and you want to build your will, you have to do it.
Because if I have a list a mile long, I might have trouble deciding what to do first and not how to do.
Yeah.
If I at least have 2 things on it, then I go, oh, well, I could check that off and I can feel
totally.
Good.
And so
I feel good that I did something.
Absolutely. I'm like a huge proponent of the big master list, and then just pulling a couple of things off that list on a regular basis. Yes, you can say, I did something. So, I think that that's an important thing. You have a master list. Even if your to-do list is crazy long, phlegmatics get overwhelmed easily. So, you're like, oh, like you just said, there's so much, I just don't know where to start, so I'm not going to start.
Well, then,
make a list of what needs to happen, and then just pull 1 or 2 things at a time.
And then with the phlegmatic paired with the choleric, sometimes there's times where you're like, we're going to do this and this and this and this. And it's like, well, it's going to take...
he reins me in a lot.
It's going to take 20 minutes to drive over there, and then you're going to spend at least 40 minutes doing that. And then we're going to drive over there, it's going to take... And it's 4 o'clock, so the traffic's going to be bad. Yeah. And so then I'm like trying to avoid being like...
Because he likes to be comfortable.
Stressed out.
Doesn't like to be stressed out.
Or trying to get more done and then feel like a failure because it didn't happen.
So I think the balance happens in that I'm good-natured about it.
Because somebody could be like, don't tell me what I do.
Right. So I think I'm good-natured about it, but I also know that I have to work on my own will. And so because I'm aware of that, and because I know he's right, even if I don't like it that he's right, acknowledging that he's right is part of the game here. And sometimes he can be overcautious, and sometimes I'll say, I think I can get in and out of there in 20 minutes. And you might not believe me, but he'll go, okay, well, then let's put that maybe on your list of possible things to do if we can get in and out of there in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because then if I really want to get in and out of there in 20 minutes, I can still make it happen, because I'm a cleric and I'm bossy. And I'm like, come on, people, let's move it.
Or let's pick the thing that's not as important and put that at the end of the list. And if it doesn't happen, then it's okay.
Yes. And so that's, a lot of how we work with things. But if you're struggling with just figuring out the base will building, you just got to start with doing one thing, and you have to do it consistently. So I'm going to suggest that you start with one thing that you can do every single day. Don't take any weekend days off, every single day. So is it that it can be something simple? Maybe you brew yourself a cup of coffee every morning at 7 a.m., no fail. Or maybe you get up every day at 6:15, no fail. Or maybe you take a new class. You decide you're going to take a Pilates class, and you go every week, no fail. And you just do it every day. You're going to go for a walk every single day. If you're having health issues, look at that. Go, all right, what can I do? One thing that I can do that will affect my health every single day. Take a walk in the opposite direction of the ice cream shop. That helps me. So I think that's one good place to start. If you're sanguine and you're having a hard time reining it in because there's so much to do, it's so much fun and it's so exciting, and you just, squirrel, can't not stop, then you have to recognize that within yourself. And you have to recognize that you have to slow down. And so you got to force yourself. Again, we're grown-ups. So grown-ups have this, we have all these habits that we built our whole lives, but we also have something that our kids don't have. And that is we have it within us. We know we have it within us to have the self-control. It's all about just tapping into it. So sanguine, you need to stop, and maybe it's the same. It's again like the phlegmatic. You need to stop and do the same thing every day. You also need to allow yourself some scheduling and stick to the scheduling. It doesn't have to be like a whole big long schedule, because I have sanguine moms that send me messages that go, I just couldn't stick with the schedule. It's just too much for me. So think of rhythm instead of schedule. Flowing like a rhythm rather than having laid out schedule, but stick with it. Stick with it. Stick with it, the pieces of it, and make it a habit. Part of it is not, I had a mom today tell me, I just get bored. And I go, you don't get bored. It's not about getting bored. It's about you don't have self-control. And so it's about having that self-control. And when you start to feel yourself wander, that's not boredom. I mean, sure, sometimes it can be boredom, but really when you start to feel yourself wander, that's not boredom. That is, you need to go rein it in. Are you sleepy?
I don't know why I've been...
You're yawning a lot.
I got plenty of sleep last night.
He's tired. We're going to Comic-Con today, so there's a little excitement in our house. It's the first of 5 days. So anyway, so the sanguine needs to just realize within herself that, hey, I'm part of the problem here. I need to tame it, slow it down. One thing that helps me, because I'm a pretty good sanguine cleric mix, is when I see myself wandering, going, nope, coming right back here. Nope, coming right back here. Nope, right back here. And I might have to do that 10 times. No, I'm going to stay right here and finish this email to this person. Instead of, and sometimes I have to go, y'all can't talk to me right now. I have to stay focused right here.
Everybody out of here.
Yeah, because, if you are sanguine, you're having a really hard time sort of reining it in, you do have to get rid of distractions. There are times during the day when the notifications are off on my phone. I turn the volume off. There you go again. Turn the volume off on my computer so I can't hear all the notifications on the computer when I'm working. I can't have any music going because you got to focus. And like I said, I know that there will be people that will definitely argue with me and say, I think my best when I have the music going. You do not. I promise. If you're not getting anything done, it's not working. So there are times to be like that. There are times to be like listening to music when you're doing tasks that are mindless, like doing dishes, doing laundry, doing, cleaning up. Those are great tasks to have lots of music going on. When you're trying to focus and you're trying to get through some reading that you might need to do for something with your kids, or get through the Thrive reading, or you need to not have things going on. Turn off the dang TV, turn off the music, and turn off your notifications. So cholerics, I hear you. in your heart. You need to let people help you. That is the biggest will builder you can do. I tell choleric moms, let your kids bake with you and let them be in charge of the flour. That's like the biggest, I hate that. And I've been a Waldorf parent for a lot of years. We bake together every week. But man, every week, and I've been a parent for a long time. Our oldest is over 20. Every week I go, oh, I hate the flour part. I hate the flour part. Because I know they're going to make a mess. And I would just rather do it myself because it's so much faster and so much more efficient. But they need the experience of it, and I need the experience of letting go.
Yes.
And so, if you're a cleric mom, you need to do that. If you're a cleric dad, let them organize your toolbox. Might really stress you out, but let them organize your toolbox. Have fun with your tools and mess them all up, so that you have to go hunting for the wrench or the screwdriver when you need it. You got to let go a little bit. You have to sort of allow that space because it softens your edges. Where we're trying to build up the other temperaments, we're trying to soften some of our edges, and some of our edges tend to be in the will department. Most cholerics don't have a problem with will. Stop yawning.
I don't know what's that.
We don't have a problem with will. We have a problem with too much will that makes us seem like a bull in a china shop to other people. Mm-hmm. So, melancholies, stop listening to all this sad stuff. I know it feeds you. And it should feed you for a certain amount, but you have to know when to be done. So one of the struggles that I know that I have with in working with some melancholic families, moms particularly, you got to get off Facebook and not be watching all of the horrible things that are going on in the world. Give yourself a little window of time, set your timer if you need to, and then get up and walk away. If you've got other sadness and drama going on in your life, learn to set boundaries. Boundaries are so important, aren't they? Like, so important. And if you're melancholy and you're not setting boundaries, then you're constantly letting people walk all over you. So you really need to set boundaries and know when to say no and be okay with it and not feel bad about it.
Facebook's tricky because I always felt I was doing a good job with it. And then the other day...
it's easy to get out of balance with it.
I let out an opinion about something, and I was surprised all the people that came out of the woodwork and jumped all over me and told me that I was ignorant and stupid. And then I was like, man, I can't believe all these people. Where did they come from?
That's kind of crazy.
And then I was thinking
Facebook,
about it,
especially...
It's like, wait, I've spent like 2 hours thinking about this.
Right, because then you're frustrated at it. I think one thing that I've noticed, and it's been like this for a while, but I think the last 2 years especially, maybe the last 6 years, since not this last election, but the one before, I think one thing that is really sad is that we've convinced ourselves on Facebook that we have to let every thought that's in our head out, and we don't think about who else is out there listening or reading, and then there's the I don't care what people think, I am who I am. I get that. But then you also get your feelings hurt because you are who you are and people don't agree with you. And so it's definitely a hard one.
Or you get I hate my life. And then everybody's like, what's wrong? Is everything okay? It's like...
We have one friend in particular that we just say a little silent prayer for him when he posts that because we know that that's feeding the monster. So if you're struggling melancholy and you make posts like that, stop it.
You ever wish?
Write it down in a journal. Journaling is a fantastic tool for all the temperaments. It's great for melancholy even more so because it really helps you to get those feelings out. It is absolutely valid to be frustrated at the state of the world, to be freaking out about the government encroaching on things, to be stressed out and not knowing what's going to happen. That is absolutely valid feelings. Valid feelings. And I think we all have them. All temperaments have them to a certain degree. It's all about how long we spend on those feelings. For myself, I know I can't stay there. I've had things. I remember the day that I found out the Federal Reserve was not a government entity. And that was it was like almost 20 years ago when I found it out. It ruined like 2 or 3 days. I cried. I remember crying about it. And then I remember thinking, you can't do anything like this. So you got to get over it and just realize the government's crap and just move on. It's not what our founding fathers wanted, for those that are watching that are in America. That there's a whole lot of other stuff going on. And I had to get to that place. But you need to not camp out in that place. It's about like having your pity party and then walking on and not camping out in it.
I remember having talks as the older kids were learning about social media and like, oh, I'm going to be a YouTube star and all this stuff. And I would talk about navel gazing. And
that's one of my favorite things that you say.
Because
that's really what it is. It's like stare at ourselves as much as we possibly can. It's a teenager problem.
It's like, because sometimes you'll see, just got back from the 7-Eleven. I love this new flavor of Mountain Dew. It's like, why
do I need to know that? Now, here's the thing. If you wanted your friend John to know that you just got back from the 7-Eleven and that you love the new flavor that the two of you were discussing, then you should tag John, or you should just private message John. You don't need to tell everybody. I have 1,600 Facebook friends every single time, and that's because we run a business. I wouldn't have that many. On the other account we had, I think I had 500, but still. I don't need somebody I went to high school with to know that I enjoyed the Dr. Pepper I was just drinking.
That's like a whole other topic.
It is another topic. It's another,
Did we go off the court?
I think we did. We went off the rails. Sorry. Back to well building.
Yes.
If you do those things...
That's an example of we went off the rails and now we have to...
It is. Now we have to rein it back in.
With our will.
With our will. So if you are struggling with those things... mostly the reason why I brought up social media to begin with was because I know a lot of moms that are struggling melancholies, and they come to social media for support because maybe they don't have the support at home, and that's again, it's a completely valid place to be. It's absolutely it's absolutely valid. Those feelings are valid. I would encourage you, if you're there, and this is what I encourage our homeschooling families, is just focus on those groups that you're in, rather than all of the feed. And it can be really hard because maybe you're in some social justice groups. We're in a couple, being citizens of California, there's always something we're trying to change. And, so it's just it's hard to not get mired in something. Write your letter to your congressman, send your 20 emails to the people that you want to support you, then take a walk outside. Go enjoy the fresh air. Remember that you have things in your life that you appreciate. So is it the sunshine? Is it, for me, I go, all right, I just need to go see the ocean. I need to go walk down there and get all of that out of my system. And it's huge. It's huge to help with that. So if you're melancholy, and actually all the temperaments, what things restore you? And you need to remember those things when it comes to sort of pulling you out of those sad places. Because that's really where I see the melancholy struggle the most when it comes to will. It's usually about things are sad, the world is coming to an end, and if you're really unhealthy, then you might be going to the why is this always happening to me place. And that's a really hard one. You have to remember that it's not always just happening to you. It's happening to lots of object. Exactly. Thank you. Agent or object, and ask yourself that at every turn. Am I an agent that has control over my life, or am I a chair? There's two different things. Yeah. Do people sit on you? Are you a chair, an object, or are you an agent that has things that you can do? So, anyways, I hope that that's been helpful. If you have questions like that, please ask us. If you have specific situations like, hey, I've never built my will in my whole life, and here I am. Because a lot of it, again, is about being willing to move forward. Are you willing to go to the next place? So, ask us questions. We're happy to help. Bye now.
Bye.